So everyone, this is our first Zoom meeting like this for our Leading Home Leadership Council for our Continuum of Care. So we ask for your patience and try to cooperate with us as it's kind of difficult to speak two at a time. So we're hopefully Roxanne could see. I think you could click and raise your hand on your computer if you want to ask a question or speak, or if you're not on a computer, you're on your phone. I think we'll allow opportunities to weigh in at certain times throughout the meeting. But we do have a lot on our agenda here today, so we're going to try to move through this expeditiously. We have board members on this call today, members of the public, and the press, perhaps. We also are here in the Monterey room at the county government building because we wanted to provide access to residents who may not have access to phone or video to participate in this meeting. So we do have a few people joining us here in person, but we are spreading out over 6 feet, and we're trying to keep our distance out of precaution too. So it is 1:30. We will start our March 25th Leadership Council meeting, and we will start just by going around, and if you could take roll call or people just introduce themselves. One at a time, and then we'll take roll. We'll start with our board members, and then any members of the public who want to introduce themselves, we'll do that after that. So we'll start with our board members. So first of all, Supervisor, we'll start with the people in the room. Supervisor Luis Alejo with the County of Monterey.
Joe Gunter, Mayor of Salinas.
Roxanne Wilson, Homeless Coalition.
And we'll just do the members of the public who are here with us too.
I'm Megan Hunter, I'm with the City of Salinas.
Hello, Westland Stakeholder Advisory Committee and Essential Services for Homeless Coalition.
Rita Costa for Stakeholders Advisory Committee.
Javier?
Javier Gomez with Supervisor Alejo's office.
Oh,
Gloria.
yes, hello everyone. I'm Gloria Rowland with Department of Social Services Community Action Partnership.
Wes?
Wes White, Salinas resident, co-president of the Salinas Homeless Union.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now we'll go to the folks online.
Administrative Office. Mike, King City.
Bonilla, Community Homeless Solutions.
And Eric Johnson, Community Homeless Solutions in R3.
Elsa Jimenez, Health Department, Monterey County.
Community Human Services.
Rafael Hernandez, Monterey Bay Economic Partnership.
Jill Allen, Dorothy's Place.
Longstone, Community Human Services.
Anyone else?
Gina Pearl, City of Salinas.
Thank you.
Gina Alvarez with CISO. Marisol Vasquez, YWCA, Monterey County. Anastasia Wyatt, Monterey County.
Chris Smith, City of Monterey.
Anyone else?
Gloria de la Rosa, City of Salinas.
Okay, if there's no other board members, any other members of the public online?
Yes. Alexa Johnson from the Housing Resource Center.
Anyone else?
Linda Gonzalez with the Office of Supervisor Alejo.
Very good.
Okay.
I partner with the Office of Assemblymember Stone. Her mic doesn't work. And I'm Nicole Sakihara with the Homeless Coalition.
Anyone else? Okay, so sometimes we have to pause because it takes a second for somebody to unmute their phone or computer. But I think we got everybody. Okay, thank you. We're gonna go into our agenda, but I just want to make a quick announcement that last Monday we were set to have a groundbreaking ceremony for our new permanent homeless shelter. We had a press release ready to go last Thursday, a ceremony set for Monday, but of course, because of the shelter-in-place order, we canceled all of that. But we did want to inform the public that we were proud of that partnership with the Coalition of Homeless Providers, the Community Homeless Solutions, among other partners that make this happen. There we did site preparation, and we're on target to hopefully have that constructed and completed by April 2021. So I want to thank everybody who was part of that, making that happen for the community of Salinas. I know the Seaside Shelter is moving forward also, but I think we'll wait for their announcement of when their timeline or their groundbreaking or ribbon cutting is for that. We're going to quickly move to any additions or modifications to today's agenda. Seeing none, Roxanne? Okay. We will now go to the consent agenda for the minutes for our Leadership Council meeting for January 22nd, 2020. That was the meeting held in San Benito County. Is there any questions, comments on that, first of all, by the board or members of the public? See none, could I entertain a motion to approve? Motion by Mayor Gunter. Is there a second?
As a reminder, you'll have to unmute yourself.
This is Elsa, I'll second that motion.
Okay. Now, because we are on video or on call, we have to do a roll call vote, so we'll go to voting members. Thank you for approval. We're going to now move to item number 5. These are brief updates, and we're going to start with the COC new grant.
Just quickly, the Continuum of Care, big Continuum of Care, HUD's Continuum of Care has announced that there will be a new grant that is specifically targeted to unsheltered persons. This was released a few weeks ago, and obviously with the COVID-19 crisis, we have not heard much more since it was originally announced, so it's to be continued.
Any questions on the new grant from board members or members of the public? Okay, let's go to the 100-day challenge update.
So we were originally going to do the 100. I'm sorry, there's feedback. Can everybody mute their phones?
Please mute your phones, please. Thank you.
We were originally supposed to participate in the 100-day challenge. This is a youth-specific activity that is going on across the nation. Unfortunately, our cohort was we're not going to start on the day that we had planned on to do this, but we are also going to use this as a part of the YHDP grant. 2 years ago, we went for it, and we were not able to get it, but our understanding is if we do the 100-day challenge, it will position us better to get the YHDP grant. That is also for youth. If we were to get the YHDP grant, it would bring in no less than $1 million, and then after 2 years, it will roll into our COC grant. So that's what we're going for.
Any questions on this 100-day challenge? Anybody? See none? Let's go to the. Go ahead.
Quick question from Robin. Will this be delayed until we're past the COVID, or it's not going to run concurrent with this, is it?
No, my understanding is HUD has ceased all activities until further notice.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, let's go to the COVID-19 update.
As you guys are all aware, we are in a crisis. The coalition has been asked to join the shelter and care table or group at the EOC, so we have been working very closely with the county. There's also been, as you have heard already, $500,000 that has been pushed down to the COC. This does not include the 2 county allocations that's specifically for COVID-19. You may hear this referenced as the new HAP allocation. We received contract for that 2 days ago, I believe. Days are starting to blur together. I believe it was 2 days ago. And we have submitted the contract, so we're just waiting to know when the money will be transferred. And our understanding is it will be expedited.
So for clarification, Roxanne, if I may, this is independent of the HAP money? This is, so what pot is this from?
So they're using the same streamlined process as HHAP, so it's all coming from HCFC. It was originally described as an extension of HHAP, but when it actually came down, they're calling it emergency relief funds.
So that's the letter, the 526,000 COC. Thank you.
So just for those that are not familiar with that, the COC is getting 526,000 from these new funding in light of the coronavirus crisis. 526 coming to this continuum of care. How much is also going on top of that, going directly to Monterey County?
Monterey County is getting, I think, 400.
400, I have that figure, it's $434,076.54.
So between those two pots, that's almost $1 million, just for the public to know that this is aid intended for addressing the needs of the homeless in our county, and it's intended to be used expeditiously to put those resources to use to helping stop the spread among homeless residents in Monterey County. Let's go, any questions on this from board members first and then the public? Anyone? Just unmute your mic if you have any questions on this. See none? How about any questions or comments from the public?
One behind you.
Oh, okay. Let's start.
So,
First,
I don't know when this.
I have a question.
okay, well, let's go here first and then we'll go back on video.
Well, this is just a comment. I'm really concerned about the COVID-19. Things are kind of, how are we going to get funding out there? We have a plan to ramp up the navigation center if funding was available very quickly, but we need to, know how we can get the sanitation centers up and running, how we can get shelter beds ASAP. And I don't know, I'm concerned that maybe the leadership council has to make decisions quickly, but we're only meeting every other month. And if this money is going to have any impact to help minimize COVID-19, I think we have to have discussions now and a plan of action, how to get this money out the door to be effective. And I know we were interested in looking at Chinatown Navigation Center and how to ramp that up quickly, but decisions have to be made quickly if we're going to do that.
Thank you, Megan. We're gonna go to Nick Chulos, because he's one of our points for Monterey County. Maybe to give a quick update on what there's a lot of this dialogue going on with the state regarding some of these funds. If you want to give a brief kind of summary of kind of where we're at in terms of an action plan for homeless needs.
Yes, thank you, Supervisor Alejo. We are working with, the county administrative office is working with Lori Medina and her staff at ESS, along with Anastasia Wyatt and people from the health department, Elsa Jimenez, Dr. Moreno, and one of the behavioral health staff. And we're strategizing on a plan to address the homeless needs. And the first priority, as it stands right now, would be kind of what you were just talking about, how to address the needs in the existing encampments and how to bring sanitation facilities and hygiene to those areas. We're also working on another plan that would involve use of hotel and motel rooms potentially in the event that we have individuals who test positive or who are at risk that need to be isolated from out of the homeless population into an isolated situation. We are looking at possibly using the fairgrounds in Monterey as one area that we might need as a potential backup area. We've also had some discussions with the city of Salinas, and I think that was that Megan Hunter that was speaking right before me, Supervisor?
Yes.
Okay, so we have had some discussions with the city in terms of the possible use of the rodeo grounds and sort of a collaborative effort with the city. And I understand that the city may be doing something regarding tent structures that I just heard about, and I don't really have the latest on that. Maybe Megan could update us. But our intent is to develop a plan as quickly as possible using the partners that we've described. We're working with Roxanne very closely with the COC. Funding is going to be a major issue in terms of funding available that the county has and that potentially the COC might have. But our intent is to get this plan in place as quickly as possible and then execute on the plan. Be glad to answer any questions. If I can, I think Lori Medina and Elsa are on the call as well, and Anastasia, they might have other bits of information to add if necessary, Supervisor.
Thank you. Yeah, let's hear from Ms. Medina and Ms. Jimenez, just so we can add on to what Nick said, and then we'll take a question from, or comment from Mayor Gunter. Also, Lori, anything to add?
Lori's phone might be on mute, Supervisor.
I'm sorry. Okay, this is Lori Medina. I did have to unmute myself.
And this is Lori Benito, Director of Department of Social Services. Thank you.
Thank you. So in addition to what Nick said, actually just kind of a little additive to that, we are right now really working with the coalition on identifying the hotel motel sites, as Nick indicated, trying to figure out between the state and the county, setting up the leasing agreements with these individual entities. So far we have capacity, we think we have capacity for about just under 230 hotel motel beds. We think we are going to need more than that to serve our needs. We actually need to identify more sites in the Salinas Valley community, so that is still certainly a concern for us to identify more units. We're also planning for the separation of constituents who might either be at high risk or those that are infected, so that we're not congregating people together. We're also, Roxanne will probably talk a little bit about this because it's really the coalition that's planning a lot of the identifying what supports are needed out in the field in an existing encampment or any new that might pop up to help encourage the social distancing that's going to be required in the communities at large. So as Nick said, we've got collectively between us and the coalition about just under $1 million that's been identified to be able to expand to be used for this purpose. We are very clear, the state has made it very clear that we have to demonstrate that we fully expended those funds before we seek any additional funds that might become available through the state or through the feds. So as Nick was alluding to, the financing pieces are going to be an issue of concern because anything that we spend beyond that, you know, the answer about whether we'll get reimbursed or not is a possibly.
Okay, it's Elsa on the line, Director of the Health Department. Do you want to add anything?
Sure. Just, it was mentioned previously in terms of the plan for bringing sanitation to some of our existing encampments. I know that Patricia at the Health Department through our Whole Person Care Funding is working with Megan to identify those locations within the city of Salinas and be able to bring those services. I understand, and maybe Roxanne will speak to this later, that she's undergoing a similar process in terms of identifying those locations outside of the incorporated city of Salinas so that we can make sure we can bring you know, toilets and hand washing stations to our homeless who are encamping another outside of the city.
Thank you, Elsa. Roxanne?
I have a question.
Oh, hold on.
Can you hear me?
Hold on. Roxanne wants to make a add to this comment first, and then we're going to Mayor Gunter, and I'll go back to the person who just spoke.
I just wanted to clarify that the $526,000, we do have to dedicate a little bit less than 11% to San Benito County. So it comes out to be about $56,000 or $53,000 less.
Right, that's designated for that county. Thank you, Roxanne. Okay, Mayor Gunter.
Well, my question for Nick is, I know that we're in the planning stage, but the clock's running rather quickly on COVID-19. And I need to know, what does he mean it's in the planning stage? Is it 2 weeks from now? Is it a month from now? Because then it's too late. We'll be New York City's partner. I need to, you know, we should be meeting 7 days a week if we have to, because this involves people's lives. The first homeless we lose, all of us are going to be on the firing line. So I just need to have an idea, what do we mean by that?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gunter and Supervisor Salinas. Supervisor Alejo, yeah, we are very concerned about that. We had a meeting this morning. Our care and shelter unit at the EOC, which includes the departments that I mentioned earlier, are all working on that plan as a top priority. We completely agree. I mean, our goal would be to get a plan that we can agree to really within the next few days. We're not talking about weeks, we're talking about days.
Thank you.
And I think whatever the plan is that we are gonna agree to, the first priority would be the existing encampment. There's no question about that, so.
And Roxanne, outside of this plan that Nick is talking about, can you just briefly explain to our board members the sanitations and portable bathrooms? As the public knows, sanitation and hand washing is critical to avoid the spread, and some of our homeless encampments are the most vulnerable as not having those types of facilities there. Where are we at in terms of deploying wash stations and portable bathrooms, and maybe some of the challenges also?
Challenges we are facing indeed. Ag has basically trumped anything that we had tried to do. We have slowly accumulated, I think, 10 stations. Mayor Oglesby had reached out through the Mayor's Association to get mayors to let us know how many they need and where they want them. So we started this process like on our own, and I'm learning very quickly that the city of Salinas has their own internal process as well on how they're identifying encampments and dropping sanitation stations, but we are in constant communication with each other. So we are being updated regularly. So far, the city of Seaside has accumulated some. I'm trying to see if I have a budget yet, because I have Nicole putting together a budget on how much money we basically have left and which jurisdictions we have yet to hear from. Rumor has it that there's 14 out there, maybe. They were originally being held up for the city of Salinas, but I believe the city is wrapping up their contract order, so maybe we might have 14 more. And then also Darby from the county has identified some pretty spectacular units. They're trailers that have sinks installed, but we're waiting for the cost of that, and we'll let you know.
So if there's other cities that would like to have these, please let Roxanne know. And I think certain cities are designating certain areas to provide these types of resources. But the issue is to also make them known to our homeless residents in those respective communities, so they know where they could go to access washing facilities and portable toilets during this time. So there is competition with some of the ag companies utilizing the same wash stations and bathrooms, but maybe perhaps looking outside the county if there's some added vendors that could help us provide even more for those cities in the county that would like to have these resources.
Supervisor Alejo, just one comment on that. You know, our logistics unit at the EOC, Mike Durer is heading that up. Mike, I know, is working on acquisition of those kind of facilities, and that's part of the picture. We need to make sure that we do everything we can to acquire what we need, and Mike is very much involved in that. So
thank you, Nick. There was a person who was asking a question. We're going back to that person.
This is. Well, BTC would like to say something too.
So this is Councilwoman De La Rosa speaking.
Yes.
And yes, I'm supporting what Mayor Gunter asked. You know, the plan, we need to start planning now and not later. And my question is, where is public health right now? We've been out there with a group of women, and I have to thank Pam Weston and Rita Acosta. And we have been identifying each site, each community of our homelessness, and we've identified block captains because we need their help. We want to help them. So in every campsite that we're identifying, we have people that are willing to help us. And number one is, when is the assessment going to be done on, okay, we're going out and educating them. There's only 3 of us right now on hand washing and social distancing. So my question is, when are we gonna start seeing some people out there besides ourselves?
We'll leave that question.
Educating.
We'll,
Prevention is the key.
okay, we'll go back to the health department at the end of other questions and comments. Okay, somebody else? Jill?
Yes, VTC would like to speak.
Okay, who's that?
BTC.
Okay, yes, VTC, thank you.
Should the fairgrounds be used, VTC has at encampments for stand down, 350 homeless people on the fairgrounds. We have all the logistics plans along with 100 tents that are 10 by 20 feet and 300 cots that are available should that plan be needed. Roxanne has copies, as does Anastasia at the county. In addition, why are we talking hotels when CSUMB has dormitories that are vacant right now with bathrooms and sinks in them?
Okay, well, we're gonna let Roxanne answer that at the end too. Let's have these different questions written down. One about outreach workers from the health department, second about dorms. Other questions and comments from other board members, and then we'll go to members of the public.
Supervisor, this is Mike Labar.
Yes.
I do appreciate the email regarding the wash stations and restrooms. Us having such a small population, but I will reconfirm with our city manager, we felt that it was more necessary that those resources be allocated towards the larger population units. But if we do need a station or something, I will let you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Other board members? Okay, we're gonna go to members of the public. We'll start with Wes.
Okay, I just got an email earlier today, like about 11:30, stating that all the parks are going to be closed, and if we don't have hand washing stations, if we're, like, honestly, we need running water for one thing. So I would hope the city would turn around and keep those open specifically as stations that service providers can do outreach for. And make those final mile connections and maybe get people placed in the housing specifically. I don't know if that's a challenge, but certainly we need to legitimize people as it is, and let them be where they're at. Give them that. I have a thing from CDC that says, encampments 12 feet by 12 feet. They should ensure nearby restroom facilities have functioning water taps and are stocked with hand hygiene materials, soap, dry materials, and bath hygiene materials. Remain open to people experiencing homeless 24 hours a day. If toilets or hand washing facilities are not available, provide access or portable latrines for encampments larger than 10 people. And that's, where I think the easiest access is just use the existing facilities. I know it's a burden on parks, but I think if people were to cooperate, I don't think there's going to be all the stereotyping that is typically associated.
Thank you, Wes. Other members of the public? Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. It seems like what I'm hearing is there could be a quick ramp-up plan to get homeless folks sheltered, which I think is really important. At the fairgrounds in Monterey, it sounds like VTC is kind of up and ready to go. We also have been partnering with the Coalition for Homeless Solutions, or Community Homeless Solutions, to ramp up at the Navigation Center up to 50 people. And I'm wondering if that's something that we should really be focusing in on. I think the sanitation is good, but I think getting people in a safe, sheltered situation, as many as we can, is also mission critical. And I think we should kind of work on these two schemes to get them up and running ASAP.
Point well taken. Thank you, Megan. Other members of the public?
There's a woman named Denise Sanders who asked.
Yeah, Denise.
Supervisor Alejo?
Wait, we're gonna go to Denise, members of the public. Denise Sanders.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, great, thank you. I just got into the meeting a little while ago. I read the article in the Weekly about this. I guess two questions I have is there anything that we can do with this particular urgent situation that could become long-term? Since I'm looking at the numbers that you all have on the table, it looks like $3 million here and $2 million there. It's like if we can figure out a way to make something a little bit more sustainable, like these people have had these needs for an awfully long time. I've been working with homeless women for the last 9 months with art projects in partnership with the Monterey Museum of Art and the Fund for Homeless Women. And we've been meeting these women, and if you can, whatever transpires after this, as you try to displace and also create place for these people to stay, please keep in mind their mental health and how they can also be served. And I know myself and the artists that I've been working with, we might be able to do something, I don't know, but I care so deeply about these people.
Thank you for your service and for your comments also. And all our staff are hearing you and hearing what the public opinions are on this, so appreciate that. Any other members of the public would like to weigh in, give comment? Okay, yes.
Jill Allen, when you're ready.
Okay, we'll go to Jill, Pam first, and then Jill.
Hi, so we've been on the ground, we've advocated. With the Mental Health Service Act, Steinberg and the governor had talked about the need to shelter, but on a daily basis we go out, the most important thing is how we coordinate, and we don't know community impacts. So Elsa, Anastasia, Lori, and what was the other person's name? What we need is the ability to work collaboratively and use a homeless coalition, like the mayor said, not to talk about things, but to see what that we have. In places like Hebron and Martin Luther King and everything like that, you have a lot of community leaders, but how are we coordinating things together? So if we have options right now, being able to work with the mayor has allowed there to be encampments. We went out, but using the rodeo ground and everything else, we need to actually identify places so that from the state, the federal, and the county that we're working in a direction. And so if during this meeting, you can bring forward a vote with what that we have so that we can be able to assess and stabilize our communities as they are. The community leaders, we've handed out trash bags. They're cleaning around their areas. We've done what that we can because we have relationship, but if we can make direction right now, today, and deal with how that we're going forward, then I hope that if the mayor wants the Sherwood Garden, if we do the rodeo ground, if there's identified areas that are already in the Chinatown area, that we can move them back into the areas, meeting people where they're at and being able to work from, for the next 100 days, we have it for the youth. So let's move from now to 100 days. What is our community impact? How are we assessing our community? Because what we've done is go out and check on people and bring the bags, but we need to actually do things as a whole. And with Elsa and Anastasia and everyone else, we need a way that we're doing things, because we're doing things as the best that we can, but from your level, what you say and how you do it is how that we're going to be able to actually affect change. So if you can give us direction and not work on a plan, but work with what we have right now to say, from now to going forward, this is what we're going to do in the places that we already have secured. We've identified 75 at RICO. We've identified in industrial probably over 300. In Chinatown and the tracks, there's 358. Over by the towers, there's 25. But people don't have access to charge their phones. And so as a community as a whole, let's move forward in a specific way in doing daily activity, community impacts as district-wide, from you as a county checking in and moving forward with what we have. And Rita Acosta has been part of the residents for over 52 years, and so the leaders are listening, but we need you to work with us, and we need your presence with us right now.
Thank you, Pam. We're going to go to Jill Allen.
Thank you, Supervisor. I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on Ms. Weston's comments. We do need the help of leadership within the encampments, because you can put hand washing stations and a lot of amenities there, but unless they're being given leadership from within their community, they may go unused. And what we need is for them to use them. We need them to wash their hands and to understand what the impact of COVID-19 is going to be on them. So that's one point. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that the Coalition of Homeless Services Providers Board met yesterday to discuss priorities for emergency relief during the crisis. I hope that there is a point in time during this meeting today that can be presented. Roxanne should have a handle on that.
Okay. Okay. Let's go to other community members or board members. I know, let's go to Mayor Labar. You have to unmute your.
I apologize, I didn't realize the hand was still up.
Okay, okay. If not, anyone else?
This is Rafael from Monterey Bay Economic Partnership.
And Ben.
Just a quick point, and maybe it was mentioned, but the National Health Care for the Homeless Council's immediate policy action recommendations also mentions having making sure that providers have adequate supplies and equipment, and that we can expand medical respite care programs, identify emergency plans to expand medical respite programs for individuals who need ongoing care. So just those 2 points. I'm not sure if they were probably mentioned, but I wanted to underscore supporting the providers and looking into medical respite care programs.
Thank you, Rafael. We're going to go to Ms. Rita.
Rita Costa. I also wanted to say that where the porta potties were dropped off, a lot of the residents there didn't even know that they were for them. They thought they were for workers that are working around there. So we went and let the campsites know that the porta potties out there are for them. And I don't know if anybody's passed by the Section 8 office over there where the homeless camp is there. We've been out there, we've talked to them, and if you look, really can tell that they've been working on that. And so we also have them getting started with the shelter in place, so everybody's trying to stay in their tents. We're going to put the signs up. We've got those from Gloria de la Rosa that says, how to keep your hands clean, wash and everything. So we've been doing that, and Sherwood Park actually is doing shelter in place, so everybody's in their tents. We have everything posted. We're not trying to take over the park or anything. People still go over there, they're doing their thing, but we just don't know where we're at. Not a good idea. So we're all against the walls. We have one area, so people can still join the park. We're not in where the hats are, under the trees. We're against the wall, so out of sight, out of mind. So if you look, you can't really tell we're there. We had other people go out there, they could see that also. And again, we've been hitting all the campsites. People just need to let them know that they are being thought of, because a lot of them didn't even know what was going on. Like, what? They didn't even know that people were supposed to stay in, because there is no phones, there is no TV, so it'd be nice if more people can get out there and let them know the information that's going on there. And thanks everybody for doing what you're doing.
Thank you for your work too, Rita. I appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I just wanted to let the council know that Sun Street Centers is open. Maybe up to half of the people in our residential treatment programs were homeless before they came in. We're still accepting people in King City, men and women, and residential in Salinas as well. And that Pueblo Del Mar is still functioning, and we're still doing intakes for our homeless families. So just want the council to be aware of that, to keep thinking about the ancillary services, transitional housing as well, because we don't want to add to the homeless population right now, and want to continue to support people with substance abuse.
And can you just say your name for those on the video?
Sure, I'm Anna Folia, CEO of Sun Street Centers.
Thank you. Appreciate it, just so they can know if they want to follow up with you.
Supervisor, this is Elliot. I just realized I did want to make 2 quick comments. I thought kind of, to the extent we can in an emergent situation, if there is infrastructure that's developed that can, through the COVID-19 response, that can have a long-term impact, I think that should be fed in. And just second thing, just having the opportunity to, sit with some of the county folks and the coalition prior to the shelter-in-place order being delivered. I saw the work that they were doing to start working with the state and the fairgrounds and other properties and sanitation centers. And just to say, I was very impressed. So,
thank you.
That's it.
Any other community or board member comments? Then I'm.
Supervisor Alejo?
Yes. State your name.
Robin McCray, CEO
Okay, Robin.
of Community Human Services. So I have 2 comments. To piggyback on Anna from Sun Street Centers, there are several treatment programs, residential treatment programs in the county, And during this crisis, some of those clients will be discharged because their medical necessity will be discontinued. And so if there's a way that we can contain those people, keep them there, they're already a homogeneous group, we should do that. Right now, under the rules we operate, and the rules are out of our control right now, we would have to discharge people, and that would be a shame. So my second comment is unaccompanied homeless youth living on their own are 20% of our homeless population. There were 600 in the homeless census, and only 40 of them were sheltered. And like other youth, they're not grasping the seriousness despite all of our outreach efforts and all of the sanitation products we're distributing and all of the education we're providing. So I'm very concerned that they're going to start getting sick, like everyone. They're as vulnerable as any other part of the population. And we need to reserve hotel rooms or make other isolation plans for those youth. And they're not just young homeless adults, but they need services specifically tailored to their needs in a way that they can receive them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other board members?
Supervisor, this is Jill Allen again, when you can call on me.
Let's see, anybody else who hasn't spoken yet?
I haven't spoken yet.
Yes, go ahead.
My name's Donna Smith, and I work for Monterey County Office of Education. I am the program coordinator for homeless children and youth in Monterey County. I work with all the districts and charter schools, and I make sure they are trained in Benito and also have the resources they need. I have been working extensively with some of our shelters, especially the Alisal shelter. And we have 33 children ages 1 week to 18 there at the shelter. I've been working with all the districts to provide food and educational supplies, art supplies. Many of the districts have reached out and given me supplies, especially migrant education that had extra things. So we've been really working with them. I'm also starting to work with some of the other shelters, especially with their children and youth that are K through 18. And I'm just kind of curious to see what the timeline is for the Alisal shelter. I know you call it the warming shelter, but now it's 24/7. What are the timelines to get the showers open? And also, they're in need of like washers and dryers now that they have the kids there 24/7. Is there any plan for that?
I could speak.
We're gonna go back to county staff at the end, so we'll put that as another question for our county staff at the very end. Okay,
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Take your time.
Okay, showers and then washer and dryer.
They have showers there, they're just not open yet.
But there's an issue. Staff will address that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Donna, and for being part of
You're
this.
welcome.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Then we're gonna go back to county staff and Roxanne.
Supervisor Alejo?
Yes, Jill, go ahead.
Thank you. One of the things that I've noticed in the last few weeks is the amount of garbage, trash that is piling up in the larger encampments. I can cite the Chinatown encampment and the one that's over by the Housing Authority along the Reclamation Ditch and the Union Pacific.
That might be old news.
They are, I'm sorry, what was that?
This is Wes White. I said that might be old news. If you're talking about the last time that you went for a tour when we met, that was a while back.
Okay, thank you. Well, at least in Chinatown, what I'm saying is if people are basically having to wade through trash in their encampments, they're probably not going to pay as much attention to hand washing stations that are put there. If we want to get their attention, let's allow them to bag their trash, put some dumpsters around there, and I realize that might be problematic with the UP right-of-way, and then empty the dumpsters. That's going to get people's attention and get their minds a little bit more focused on staying clean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to Rita, then Mayor Gunter.
To add to that,
please.
we've been out there every single day and you see the trash piling up because we're asking them to put in a certain area so it can be picked up. And the Section 8 area is also putting all the trash in piles so they can clean up the campsite, and they're asking them to put them in piles so they can be picked up. So everybody's been working together on that daily. Every day we've been out there. So that's why the trash is piled up, so people is trying to do their campsites.
So we need the pickups.
But the sites are much cleaner.
Okay, hold on, one at a time, please. Mayor Gunter.
We've been working with Republic on the pickups, and Union Pacific was going to do a cleanup until the COVID-19 hit, and we decided to wait out of respect for the folks out there rather than displace them in places where there were absolutely no services and they weren't comfortable. That will be done, we're hoping when this ends, they're ready to go. They were going to clean up a 1.5 mile of track, totally clean. So that is coming as quick as we can get it done, but we have to be respectful of because we don't have, and if we could put a sprung structure up, I'd have a place to put them in Chinatown so we could get them off those railroad tracks and they'd be safer.
Wes, briefly?
Basically, if we do the sprung structure, I was reading the statistics, says 8 to 15 people to start and 50 people total. That's not nearly as many.
Separate ones.
Okay, well,
More to come.
yeah. Whew, if we could afford them. But then what do you do for everyone who's not in a sprung shelter, and that's...
Shelter in place can be held in the campsites that are already active right now. As long as the people clean up around it, saves money if you clean up the campsites that are already active. They're already out there, spread them apart, it'll work.
Okay, we're gonna bring this back to county staff to address some of the questions. We'll go to first Elsa and Roxanne and Lori. Questions about outreach, the washers and dryers, and then the bathrooms at our current county city shelter. And then also, then we'll go to Roxanne. Let's start with Elsa. You want to start with about outreach workers, specifically around, or Lori, regarding outreach for homeless residents, educating them about COVID-19 prevention.
So this is Elsa. I know that we've had conversations with the CSUMD staff in Chinatown as part of our kind of whole person care efforts in terms of trying to increase awareness, but I do apologize. I don't know the extent of those conversations or the details, and it's something I could definitely get back, and Roxanne can send a response to the members on today's call. Unless Dorothy knows something, if Patricia's been involved with you in those discussions.
We know that the Community Health Engagement Center next door here in Chinatown is closed to the public. So I'm not sure that there's been much progress been made there at all.
Okay, I can circle back on that.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll go to Gloria. You want to speak on our showers that are waiting to be put to use at our current
Yes,
shelter?
there were repairs that were necessary to the fencing after an incident at the shower trailer. And today, Dave Pratt with the Regional Management Agency did let us know that the repairs are to be completed today. DSS will receive the keys and the showers will be made available within the next couple of days. So in addition to the showers, I share with you that the shelter is now 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And as Donna Smith related, there are a lot of children, families, and persons there. We are assessing their particular needs to see if there is, if it's necessary to separate anyone from the population that's presently there, but we're doing all that we can to keep everyone safe, to educate people on taking safety and cleanliness precautions so that we can prevent any spread of COVID. But we're really excited that we'll have those showers up very soon.
And Gloria, if there's a way we could look at the washer and dryer issue, I mean, it's a point well taken if they're being there 24/7, having the ability of somewhere to wash
Yes, thank
clothes.
you.
Yeah, it doesn't seem
So
like that'd be too
I
expensive.
will connect with facilities and see if there is a possibility that washer and dryer facilities can be made available. That I can't speak on right now,
Right.
Supervisor.
But we'll, good, it's a request and then we can look
Okay,
into it.
yes,
Yeah.
great.
Yes.
Got a hand behind you.
Okay, hold on. We're going to Roxanne next, talking about discharging residents at some of the treatment centers, and also have we reached out to CSU and B regarding perhaps utilizing some of those rooms?
Yeah, so I have, we reached out to the the social work department to see if there's any way they can talk to the school and make those units available to us. My understanding is the school has emptied out the majority of their dormitories. I have yet to hear back from CSUMB because we just talked about that on Tuesday, which was yesterday. So, sorry again, the days are going by very quickly, or slowly, I don't know if they're different. But also, it is true that many of the partners are seriously affected by the lack of resources. So I have been in contact with Monterey County's resource contact, and they're the ones who has been distributing the hand sanitizer to us. I am trying to pull together the total request, which would include masks and things of that sort. So we are trying to see how we can streamline those requests from the county and get them back to us. But of course, the hospitals would take precedence over anything else. But we are working through that. Because of the lack of PPE, personal protective equipment, our outreach is essentially ceased. Most of the agencies are most of the shelters are doing shelter in place. They're no longer taking in clients, but they're also not discharging clients unless the clients are not willing to abide by the shelter in place rules.
Or getting permanent housing.
Yeah, or getting permanent housing, that's right, because the HRC and Cecil are still housing people permanently as we speak.
Yes.
And so is Moongate Plaza.
Okay, let's go to Megan.
Oh, I was just gonna mention, so, one thing, we've been a little bit in communication with Community Homeless Solutions, about the use of the potential use of the PAL building or the Women's Club, which is kind of, down the street. So, just as an FYI, and I just got an email from Eric Johnson asking because of the 24-hour operation at the warming shelter, it's pretty challenged to observe social distancing in those circumstances.
Well, that's interesting, the PAL building is open, thanks for sharing that, I hope it works out.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's open, it's something that we're exploring, we need a plan, it's not ours to control, but the city did declare an emergency, so we.
Okay.
Okay. Roxanne, you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add a few more things. Rita and Pam have been out there. They are our extension of outreach at this very moment. I know that the coalition has raised a little bit of funding that we can pay people with lived experience to assist. So I spoke to our lawyers today, and I'm trying to figure out how we can give you guys some sort of reimbursement for your time, and also get you protective gear since you are going into the encampment. So I wanted to put that on record that we are working on getting you the right protections as well. They are incredible. They've been able to provide me with a ton of information. There's also the conversation of the larger HHAP money. So I just wanted to let everyone know that there is still the larger portion, I think it's like 3-point-something million for us, that the state has encouraged us to use toward the COVID-19 response. It is not a requirement. And if we should do the COVID-19 response, 8% will still have to be put towards youth. So that's something we have to really keep in mind. And then 10% goes to the county of San Benito, and also, of course, admin fees, which we're assessing where we could scale back, and I'd have to take it to my board, but I do believe that we can scale back on admin fees, so we can put it back
So
towards services.
this is that next item on the brief updates on HHAP or HAP funding. For those that are not familiar or members of the public, this was our second round of state funding that we were in a process of if you can turn off your microphones, make sure your phones or computers are muted. But HAP was the second round of state funding, so we were in a process of doing an RFP to get proposals. And what the timeline was is that in April and May, we were going to be prioritizing those proposals, and perhaps through this board, grant funding in June. But that was all before this crisis and the shelter in place went into effect. So now the state is saying we could utilize the money that would otherwise go for these proposals now to redirect them for these emergency services and shelter for our homeless population. So this is a big item of discussion. Did you want to address how we would do this? I know somebody said we usually have monthly meetings, but not under the circumstance. We'd always could call an emergency meeting, and now with the Zoom technology, it's a lot easier to put everybody on a meeting as we're having today without having to drive to Marina or elsewhere. So if we need to have emergency meetings to address funding questions or a redirection or reshifting of the HAP funding, that is always possible to do with this technology. But do you want to say where we're at on that, or perhaps how or at what point we might address whether we direct the HAP funding?
That's a really loaded conversation because Monterey County does have their HAP funding. With their increase, it's $3,076,204. County of San Benito has their HAP funding. The total between the two, that includes the COVID increase, $359,589. And then there leaves the COC's allocation. The COC's allocation, aside from the COVID-19 response, is $3,185,326. And again, that's minus admin, minus County of San Benito, and minus the 8% that's dedicated to youth. What we're trying to find out, and we don't have the answers yet, is if this board was to dedicate the money, and we're going to pay for the shelters that, help throw our money together with the counties to put up the shelters, to do the encampment outreach, to do everything, how can we potentially get that money sent back to us from the state? We don't know the answers to that, so if anybody comes across that answer, please notify us. Because if that was to happen, then theoretically we could just reopen the RFP process and pick it up. My understanding is it could take 18 months to 2 years though for the money to come back to us. But that is a discussion that we should definitely really look at, because I know the county is going to wait to see how much we could throw into the pot to assist with these larger efforts.
Okay. So maybe we leave that because we don't have an exact proposal yet, because they're still being worked on. But perhaps in the next few days, if we need to be able to call an emergency meeting just on that particular topic, so it gives us some time to do some additional conversations, some additional planning, and then to be able to bring to the board. So if people could just be flexible with your calendar, that if we needed to call for that, we're going to need to have you join a call or the Zoom conference. Comments on
Supervisor Alejo?
Yes, Nick.
Yeah, hi, this is Nick. I'm going to need to jump off this call in a couple of minutes, but I just wanted to second what Roxanne was saying. We have been doing some work on a preliminary budget to address the homeless response to the COVID-19. And as you can imagine, it's going to be an expensive proposition. So we're going to be needing all of the financial assistance we can get between the county's resources and potentially resources that could be repurposed from the COC. We'll have more clarity on that as we go forward, but that's another top priority. Developing the plan and implementing it quickly is one priority. Figuring out what we think it's going to cost and how we're going to pay for it is another. So I would agree with your thought about potentially needing another special meeting very quickly.
Right.
I would also like to add that the I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
The coalition, as Jill said, has had their own meeting, and they too have their list of priorities that they would like for the council to consider.
Glorietta.
So I have a question regarding has there been any contact and response from the foundations or such as how they could coordinate and assist with the effort that the county and the coalition and the cities are putting forth? Well, I'm not sure what the cities.
Dan Baldwin's on this call. Maybe if he's still on the call, he could weigh in. Dan? He might have jumped off. Okay, we'll follow up with Dan also on that from the Community Foundation.
Mr. Chair, this is Elliot. I just wanted to say that I think having a special meeting when the plan is made will be important. I, for one, think my time is your time. So
thank you.
It will be important to have the plan made, and there are lots of places we could throw money at things, but we should know what we're throwing the money at. And I know that staff have been diligently working towards that. So.
Right, and we got this proposal that Salinas just is mentioning today too, so we gotta evaluate that in context with everything else that's being worked on. Salinas, thank you for bringing that forward too. Anyone else? We got another few items, so we gotta try to get through the rest of the agenda.
Before we go there, we'll make sure that Roxanne has this. She'll send it out to all the members of the coalition so she can see what we're talking about.
Right.
I know Wes thinks I should build it bigger and better, but we are trying, and this is our first attempt at doing this. This is a sprung shelter that we can build. We'll own it, and then we can move it if necessary to another location down the road if we need to, and if that's necessary. So this is a great opportunity.
And how soon could a structure like that be put up?
90 days.
90
to be up and running.
Yeah.
Maximum.
Like basically three to 4 weeks. We talked to Sprong, and they said they could
They
get
could
it
have
up
it in here
in
and have
4
it put
weeks.
up in less than a month. So.
All right, anything else? Otherwise, we're moving to item number 6. Okay, last two things before we do so, just besides meetings, I did want to mention the state had made available some trailers for different counties. The county did put in a request for 100. We don't know if we're going to get that. We haven't got a response yet. But just as another set of resources that could be put up somewhere temporarily to house our homeless residents, we have made that request as part of different strategies to address this situation. We're going to move on to community homeless solutions contract amendments. Roxanne.
So, as many of you know, we received official notice that Community Homeless Solutions plans on forfeiting their 2019 COC grant. There's 3 grants. Homeward Bound is for 25 families. It's $118,209. $118,209. Most Lexington Court would serve 6 families, $101,336. And the third one is Men in Transition, 24 unaccompanied adults. It says Men in Transition, but they actually serve both genders. And it's $169,772. The coalition would like to recommend that we get the authorization to move forward with dedicating Homeward Bound and Most Lexington Court to Housing Authority. The Pueblo Del Mar did not get Tier 2 funding. So this would be a means to save the Pueblo Del Mar project. And that would still leave 1 grant, and Interim Inc. is interested in becoming the administrator of that grant.
So this is like our first situation where an agency who was granted money can't continue to do that work, so we're needing to redirect it so that we could utilize all the resources the state gave us. The state has on us that we have to utilize those resources, or else it could go back into a pool where others could perhaps draw it down. We would rather have this used here in Monterey County rather than going back to a pool of, I think, 3 other counties. So it's imperative that we quickly redirect this money and put it to use. And this is the recommendation from our Coalition of Homeless Providers. Comments on this? Mayor Gunter first.
I think this is a great plan, and when the time's like, I'd like to make a motion we do this.
Okay, other comments on item number 6 from board members and then the public? Hearing none? Seeing none? Members of the public, anyone? Okay, but thank everybody for willing to do this. This is our job to make sure we're spending every dollar putting it to use. Mayor Gunter made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I second it.
Is that Mayor LeBaron?
Elliot was first.
Elliot? Okay, that was Elliot for the second. All those in favor, we'll do roll call. And I'm an aye, so I think that's 11-0.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you for that. Going on to approval of the COC RIN standards. Item number 7.
So as you guys are aware, we had presented the first draft of the written standards last board meeting, or last Leadership Council meeting in January. We asked that Leadership Council members submit their recommendations to us. We have heard none. So I would assume that we are ready to move forward.
Okay, so this is item number 7, the Monterey San Benito County's Continuum of Care RIN standards. Any discussion on this? from board members, members of the public? Okay, entertain a motion.
So moved, Dan Baldwin.
Moved by Mr. Baldwin, second.
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Mayor Gunter. Okay, let's do a roll call vote again on item number 7.
Supervisor Leo,
Aye.
Mayor LeBear,
Aye.
Mayor Oglesby,
Aye.
Elliot Robinson,
Aye.
Elsa Jimenez,
Aye.
Enrique,
Aye.
Lori Medina,
Aye.
Dana Cleary. Again. Sorry, I still have hers here. Robin McCray,
Aye.
Dan Baldwin. Oh, this was the
Aye.
full motion. Kurt Shockey,
Aye.
Rafael Hernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Gunter.
And this is Mick Erickson. Aye.
Hi, Mick.
Okay,
Aye.
I got 13-0 on that one.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you everyone for that. We're moving on to item number 8, approval of the governance charter for both Monterey and San Benito counties.
As you are also aware, in the January meeting, we had proposed a new draft of the governing charter. The main difference in the governing charter is that it adds a couple more seats to include people, let me see the categories, my apologies. To include another person who's formerly homeless or formerly homeless, and it also adds a few more categories, like a representative of corrections, a representative of LGBTQ. It doesn't really add too many seats, but it does open up the type of representatives that we're asking to start joining the Leadership Council.
Any questions on this from the board or members of the public?
Question or comment?
Yes, Megan?
So my comment is, I think that there should be a seat at the table for whoever is administering regional ESG and cash funds, separate from the actual jurisdiction, because in that role as AE, administrative entity, we're not about our city, we're about the region. We have to look out for San Benito, we have to look out for, you know, Seaside and Monterey, and that's different than looking out for our city jurisdiction. So I would think that a staff position that, you know, could coordinate, maybe they don't have the same level of vote, but could be at the table, because it's kind of been awkward for us to pop in and talk about cash and ESG. So that would be one suggestion I make.
Okay.
Anyone else, board members or public members? Yes, sorry.
So in dealing with cultural relevancy, instead of just being LGBTQ, there needs to be there's a difference between vulnerable and culture. And so when you're dealing with how you fund things, like they're severely mental ill, you know, different type of disabilities. So to just categorize one group of population, it's not categorizing vulnerable quality of life. So that should be an inclusive position, not an exclusive position, and it needs to be district specific. So it could have from each district culturally specific, district specific, then it doesn't just deal with one group. And then with ADA requirements, then we need to ensure that those type of disabilities there should be one person that covers for that, and then the other should be culturally relevant, district specific for the different disparities, because just LGBTQ is not inclusive and reflective of Oaxaca, Triqui, you know, from South County to each district. So it should be district specific representatives and also culturally specific. And maybe you could have a subcommittee group that works along with that to ensure that all groups have feedback and governance in how that we represent the funding streams and what that we need. especially dealing with Mental Health Service Act, SB2. It would ensure those quality of life and disparities that aren't currently known in each district.
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Let's go to Glorieta.
Yes, I certainly appreciate the work Salinas has done in administering ESG and state funding. But I question the even distribution with Salinas having 2 votes, or would they not have a vote, let's say, at the leadership council? So that's just something I'm putting out there.
Thank you, Glorieta. Any other board members, community members? Roxanne?
I just received word that the Youth Action Board has went back up locally, so I actually would like to put them add them to the list as well. As someone who can join.
Okay. As an amendment to a motion today?
Yeah, I think that, well, we have the decision about the city of Salinas, the ESG conversation.
Mr. Chair, if I can make a motion just to adopt the governance charter as it stands now, and make sure that to the extent that there is space in the, I believe it's 8 seats that are undesignated, for the additional, for any additional recommendations, I think that's actually not an exclusive list, but it's intended to be inclusive. But I think the larger the board gets, the more difficult it is to manage and to come to decisions. And I think, particularly now when we're being asked to address a crisis, that becomes even more apparent to me. So I'd like to make a motion for the governance charter as it stands today.
Okay, there's a motion, is there a second?
I second it.
Second by who?
Dana Chispa.
Okay. We'll take that as a second. Discussion on the motion?
Yes.
Yes, Mayor Gunter.
So my understanding is we have 8 seats that are undesignated. And we'll have an opportunity to put people into those seats that would fill all the requirements and needs that we need.
I would need to verify that. I don't know about the 8 seats that are, or
I did not currently, they are not necessarily currently vacant. If I remember the count right, there's 12 seats in category 2.
11.
11.
Or 2 for lived experience, and I can't remember the other 2.
There's 11 in category 2.
And 4 designated?
4 designated.
Okay, so.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. So we have 7 that are undesignated. So that's what Elliot is saying, is that we can comprise it however we need to.
Okay. Yeah, because I do have concerns. We are a large body, and like I said, we have to keep it at a manageable size. But if there's spots that we could think through later and see where we could designate those in a way that makes sense, I'd like to do that. But I want to keep for our decision making through these next several months, keep it in a way where we could continue to do our decisions expeditiously and establish a quorum and not get so big at a time that's critical. So there's a motion, second, other discussion. See none, let's do a roll call vote.
Luis Alea.
I'm an aye.
Mike Labar. Mayor. I'll go back to him. Mayor Gunter.
Yes, with reservation.
Mayor Oglesby.
Yes.
Elliot Robinson Mason.
Yes.
Elsa Jimenez.
Yes.
Enrique Arriola.
Yes.
Laura Medina.
Yes.
Dana Clary.
Yes.
Mick Erickson.
Yes.
Robin McCray.
Yes.
Dan Baldwin.
Yes.
Kurt Shockey.
Yes.
Rafael Hernandez.
Yes.
This is Michael Barr. I think I missed you. Did you call me?
Yes, I did.
It is a yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I got 14-0 on this vote. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to the 10-year plan rewrite, item number 10. This is to authorize the community coalition of homeless service providers to collaborate with Department of Social Services, Housing, the County Housing Program, Health Department, County Behavioral Health, City of Salinas, County of San Benito, Health and Human Services to rewrite the Leave Me Home 10-year plan to end homelessness. A contract total of $205,000. Roxanne?
So the departments, as mentioned, have been meeting for quite some time for us to identify a potential consultant to help us completely rewrite the 10-year plan. And we have interviewed them all, and we all have agreed on using the, focus strategies. We worked with them to lower their price. They were originally $275,000, I believe, and they have dropped it to $205,000. The reason why we like this company is because they don't do cookie cutter products. They will analyze our HMIS and our coordinated entry data to help us set baselines and goals to keep us moving forward. And it says on the form, on my request for approval, that the County of San Benito did not confirm their contribution, and I have heard from them yesterday, so they will cover the difference. So we are asking the Leadership Council to give us permission to move forward.
Okay, discussion on this item. Board members first and then public. Seeing none, we've talked about this at past meetings too. Public members.
Sorry, Supervisor Mayhew. I just want to compliment the efforts from Roxanne and staff and the group that was formed to be able to review all the proposals and make a recommendation to the Leadership Council.
And that was Elsa, right?
Sorry, yes, Elsa
Yes,
Jimenez.
thank you. Okay, other board members? Okay, public members, Pat?
Also to compliment Roxanne, that we have compliance and contracting and everything, and where we went before to Health and Human Services when you were part of the body, to where we are now to collaborate and to be able to have transparency and accountability to measure our outcomes and our priorities to end homelessness and improve quality of life. I'm glad that we're going to move forward with a standard, with a charter, and be able to hopefully provide for the board what they asked before, the efforts to outcome that the Avatar wanted, because with home-based, we could only do a certain thing, but with the homeless management information system, then we can move forward and be able to really show continuum of care as quality of life and access. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh, I was just going to compliment Roxanne. Thank you so much for leading this through the home stretch. I think it's a real collaboration, and I just want to make a pitch that it's going to be really incumbent on all of the governmental jurisdictions to get on board if we're really going to make sure this plan doesn't sit on a shelf. So we should, all the jurisdictions should be really active participants in this, in the implementation in the future.
Okay, Wes?
Well, I know one of the simplest ways is to open the bathrooms 24 hours a day.
Other members of the public or board members? Otherwise, I just want to say on Focus Strategy, I'm excited to get a new firm that can really hopefully look outside the box from just the standard plan that we had for so many years. It's time to kind of relook and shake things up and see how we can do things better rather than the old status quo under the old plan. So I think all staff will contribute in voice, and we need something different, another relook, another vision of how we could better serve and address and combat homelessness to get people housed and better served in this county. With that, we want to entertain a motion to approve.
Yes.
Mayor Gutcher, what's the motion? Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Who is that?
This is Dan.
Dan?
Boyce. Second.
Second by Mr. Baldwin. Let's do a roll call vote.
Luis Alejo?
Aye.
Mike LeBear?
Aye.
Mayor Gunter?
Aye.
Ian Oglesby?
Aye.
Elliot Robinson?
Aye.
Elsa Jimenez?
Aye.
Enrique Ariola?
Aye.
Lori Medina?
Aye.
Dana Cleary?
Aye.
Mick Erickson?
Aye.
Robin McCray?
Aye.
Dan Baldwin?
Aye.
Kurt Shockey?
Aye.
Rafael Hernandez.
Aye.
I got 14-0 on this one. Thank you. Let's go to item number 10, the CESH ESG NOFA, notice of funding availability.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're running out of time, so I will be extremely brief, but this is for the cash funding and the ESG funding. We have a total amount of $562,293 for cash round 2. We are proposing to, after admin, there would be $479,179 available for Monterey County and $55,000 for San Benito. And then the ESG NOFA Monterey County allocation would be $211,823, and San Benito would be $23,600. So we're proposing to get the NOFA out on the street with approval from the Leadership Council. Depending on timelines, we are trying to work remotely and get things moving, especially as important as this is. So with approval, we would publish the NOFA in April, and then the submittal that we're trying to keep track of, depending on COVID-19, is to get the application submitted to HCD by May 28th, and city funding agreements executed in February 2021.
Okay. Questions on this funding? Anyone? Let's do board members, members of the public. Seeing none, got a motion by Mayor Gunter. This is to approve that timeline that you just explained?
Yeah, and to let us authorize us to submit the notice of funding availability for these two resources.
Great, think that's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Elliot.
Elliot, thank you. Okay, let's do a roll call vote, please. We got 14-0 on item number 10, thank you. HEAP update, last item here.
We actually provided a quick handout on knowing that this meeting was going to go all the way. So I'll just read it out for those who are unable to view the screen. We have currently expended $1.1 million. Of that, $260,000 went to youth, $665,000 has went to capital, $120,000 on services, and $107,000 on rapid rehousing. We have served 400 individuals in totality so far. As a reminder, $8.6 million has went to capital allocations. Therefore, we still have not seen the fruits of the capital projects. We expect that once the capital projects are opened, it will take off. So stay tuned for that information. We have housed 14 individuals through rapid rehousing. And of this, we expect to create a total of 274 additional beds.
Youth?
And I'm sorry, and then also we have served 12 youth so far through the Salinas Valley Street Outreach Program.
Okay, questions on this? These are updates. We're gonna be getting these every meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
Excuse me, Roseanne, I dropped
yes,
in.
Glorietta?
Sorry. So serve 12 youth, is that house the 12 youth, or what does that mean?
Robin, would you like to tell us what you're doing with the 12 youth?
Sure. 12 youth have are engaged in case management services, so they're signing up for benefits. They've got plans or goals that they're working towards to get off the streets. But we're seeing a lot more. This doesn't show all the numbers and outreach that we're seeing that are getting survival aid and information and referral, and it does take a while to establish trust with the population, so the numbers will go up over time.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
For the 274 beds.
Okay, go ahead. Pam?
Yes,
Recognize?
I just wanted to know, for the 274 beds that you identified, could you please explain what that is?
That would include the multiple shelters and the people, it also includes rapid rehousing beds. So those are the ones that are not, like you can't count them until they've already been done, because sometimes it'll be two beds per unit, but that's what we're projecting to serve in total.
Other questions?
Luis, the administrator had muted me when Glorietta asked that question earlier, so I was talking, but no one can hear me.
Okay, is that
So
Dan?
Glorietta, if you want to send me an email separately, I'll answer the question that you had, so I don't take up the group's time.
Okay, is that Dan Baldwin?
Yes, it is. Sorry, Luis.
Thank you. Okay, other comments on our HEAP update? This is the first round of state funding. We're trying to get regular updates to make sure that we're spending it. Somebody want to speak?
This is Rafael Member.
Okay.
This, thank you. Just related, not directly on this, but pardon if this was answered before. The vote that we did last week by email using HEAP interests to direct it to the COVID-19 work. I was just wondering if there are any updates on how that was going to be used.
Let me see if my staff who's actually administering, do they have that put together yet? Nicole?
Thank you.
Do you have, did you put together the list of jurisdictions, locations, and the amount of money we're spending on the hand washing stations yet?
This is what I have, for those who can't see this screen, we've got about a total of 15 requests for hand washing stations, 10 for toilets. As of right now, I've only been able to reserve 2 hand washing stations for the city of CESH, portable toilets, and for another inventory to come in. We've completed all of the orders for San Benito County, excuse me. Monterey City has ordered their own, and they will be sending the invoice a little bit later. Unfortunately, they couldn't get that to me before the meeting started. We're still waiting again on some more inventory for San City. There are a few vendors listed here that are hoping to get their deliveries of new units by the end of this week, and then I'll be able to call in and order them. And Salinas has also already ordered theirs, and we are also awaiting the invoicing for that. But that's the estimated amount so far that we've spent is about $34,000 will be.
Thank you for that. I want to recognize Mayor Gunter and Mayor Oglesby. We're trying to get some communities to work through some of the logistics. They were quick to respond and got their staff to line things up for their respective cities. So I want to thank you both and any other electeds who helped draw down those resources for your cities. If there's no other comments, we're going to adjourn this meeting. Wes, last words?
No, go ahead.
All right. All right, everyone. We will call a special meeting in the next few days if needed, which I think we will. Thank you for joining us today, and appreciate everybody's cooperation for this video call. Thanks.